Wing night, Friday's Cajun chicken Alfredo, and Saturday's incredible crab leg dinner. And stick around for karaoke nights, live music, and so much more. Follow them on Facebook at Shindigs with a Z Bar and Grill. Shindigs, your hootenanny hotspot.
This is the story of a 7-year-old boy from Baltimore who nagged his parents incessantly for a pony until they moved to the mountain. There, over 40 years, I learned everything I could about the farmsteading lifestyle from great mentors.
Ooh, what a lucky man he was.
Oh, and by the way, I got my pony. I named him Captain.
On your mystery ship, on your way to a world that others might have missed.
Hey, welcome once again, Farmsteader's Field Notes. I'm your host, Sean from the Mountain. Thank you for joining me here on WMBS 590 AM, 101.1 FM, www.wmbs590.com, and of course, if you're watching Facebook Live. As always, if you have anything agriculture related, as far as events or anything that's open to the public, hey, please let me know, and I'll do my best to talk about it and promote it. That's what we're here for. Why don't we start off with a little bit of news today? And in the news, Pennsylvania Ag Secretary Russell Redding has received the Organic Champion Award from the Organic Trade Association. The award honors individuals in government who have shown commitment to advancing agriculture and trade. A lifelong public servant and Pennsylvania native, Redding's deep connection to agriculture began on his family's dairy farm and continues through his crop farm to this day. He has dedicated his career to supporting farmers, expanding market opportunities, preserving farmland, promoting conservation, and building a more resilient, diverse agricultural economy and community. Redding led the creation of the PA Preferred Organic brand and the Organic Center of Excellence, and has championed growth in the state's organic sector. Also in the news, dairy farmers need $13 margin floor price as family dairy farmers struggle with high operational costs and plunging milk future prices. A national farm marketing group is proposing a change to the dairy margin coverage program. DMC payments are based on the difference between the prices farmers receive for milk and an index of prices paid for feed. When that difference is higher, farmers are assumed to be more profitable and payments are lower. When that difference is lower, however, farmers are assumed to be less profitable and payments are higher. But most family dairy farmers grow their own feed, and as trade wars pressure feed prices, lower DMC program payments are also lower. On any family dairy in April 2023, a low milk price of $20.70 provided me and my family with a much-needed payment of $3.60 per counterweight, said Tom Crosby, who, along with his family, owns and operates a dairy farm in Shell Lake, Wisconsin. This past July, however, an equally low milk price, just 10 cents higher than April of 2023, paid us absolutely nothing. Today's rock-bottom feed prices cancel out payments that would otherwise help the Crosbys and other dairy farmers get through the struggles that too low milk prices bring with them. That's why National Farmers is proposing a $13 margin floor price. Crosby, who also serves as a regional director and board member of National Farmers, believes a floor price of $13 is reasonable based on past DMC feed indexes and the USDA cost of production estimates for growing feed on smaller farms. As simple as this solution seems, we expect it will provide an invaluable security for our nation's family dairy farmers, Crosby said. In the example above, $20 milk gives no payment at all when the feed prices are $10. With a $13 floor, however, a producer with $9.50 coverage would see a $2.50 payment. The Dairy Margin Coverage Program is a mainstay among federal farm programs that provide financial relief to smaller family dairy farmers. We must act now to fix DMC's feed price loophole, Crosby said. We are already losing way too many family dairies without a fully effective DMC program. Those losses will be much, much worse. Also in the news, flock to the first Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Festival. Are you a fleece fanatic? Do you enjoy watching farm dogs in action? Perhaps you want to learn the differences between ovine and bovine. Whatever your interests, the inaugural Pennsylvania Farm Sheep and Wool Festival in Dayton, Pennsylvania, has something for you. The festival will be held October 11th through the 12th at the Dayton Fairgrounds. I'm always looking for opportunities to get sheep and wool products out to the general public, said Dan Turner, president of the Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Growers Association and owner with his wife, Jan, of Ewe Wright Farm in Shippensburg. Turner got wind that a group of women in the Dayton-Smicksburg area were looking to start a small sheep festival behind a local shop. He had bigger plans. I got a hold of them and asked if they were interested to partner with the Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Growers, Turner said. The answer was affirmative, and plans got underway to hold the festival at the fairgrounds. Activities include a sheep show and competition, sheep herding trials, lamb snuggling and valet black-nosed sheep lamb cooking demonstrations, a sheep pavilion showcasing up to 20 breeds, seminars for breeders and fiber enthusiasts, and dozens of sheep product vendors. Turner will also introduce a new event, Lamb Olympics. That's a completely new term for leading sheep through an obstacle course, he said. Participants can rent sheep for the obstacle course. If somebody wants their grandson to try leading a sheep around through, then we can do that, Turner said. Fleece to shawl demos will include carding, spinning, and weaving wool. There will be about 40 vendors selling all types of wool-related items for fiber fanatics, Turner said, referring to people who love wool and yarn, crocheting, knitting, and weaving, and will drive hours to go to a festival like this. Turner, who has about 600 catod and sheep, raises for breeding stock and meat, entered the ovine arena somewhat recently. It all started about 20 years ago with his dog. I got involved in it because I bought a border collie, Turner said. After having a dog for 3.5 years, I met a guy that had sheep, and I took my dog over to him, and my dog just turned on. Turner had no initial interest in raising sheep, but he eventually bought a wether, and the term for the castrated male, and a ewe for his dog to work. Then friendship, fate, and Mother Nature conspired to make him a sheep farmer. My buddy says, "You need some more sheep. Let's go get some." He said, "I know where there's some in Hanover," but it turned out something was missing from among them. One of the new sheep was an intact male in Weather's clothing. 6 months later, the ewe dropped a pair of lambs. Turner offers on-farm sales of USDA lamb cuts and market lambs by appointment, and online and direct sales of his no-name cowboy artisan jerky brand through a retail shop in Dayton, Ohio. The jerky is also available at the front desk of Turner's other business, Turner Hydraulics in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. He also is selling a lot of breeding stock. Personally, I use NSIP, the National Sheep Improvement Program. Estimated breeding values, the same thing that the cattle guys use, called EPDs, estimated progeny differences, he said. Turner's goals are to continue to improve the genetics for catodons and to grow interest in sheep and sheep products for Pennsylvania for consumers and farmers alike. And he's not alone. I'm pretty excited to celebrate sheep culture in Pennsylvania, said Austin Brown, Penn State Extension Program Specialist in Small Ruminant Production and Management and co-chair of the festival. Unless you're from the area, and I think it's sometimes underlooked, that there is a lot of shepherding history and sheep farms in Pennsylvania, which warrants recognition. especially in southwestern Pennsylvania, Brown said. Being able to represent Penn State in support of a network opportunity for shepherds in an area I grew up in is very exciting for me. The Pennsylvania Sheep and Wool Festival takes place from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day. Admission is $5, and kids under 12 get in for free. For more information, visit pasheepandwoolfest.com. Okay, and that's it for the news. And of course, we will talk about what's left of our farmers markets because, unfortunately, if you missed it, time is of essence and we are running out.
Look! I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, rabbits, you name it! Look! I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, turkeys, rabbits, you name it! Beans, greens, potatoes.
Anyway, like I said, running out of use of that one because, unfortunately, our farmers markets are closing. So now is the time, if you want the fresh fruits and vegetables, to make it out to it. Bedford, Pennsylvania, every Saturday, Lambertville Methodist Church, now to the end of October, from 9 to 1 p.m. Frostburg, Maryland, Frostburg City Place, now until October, from 9:30 to 1. Connellsville Farmers Market on Thursdays, the East Side Fire Station from 5 to 8 p.m., 100 North Arch Street. Double check on their websites and their social media to make sure that they're still going on, because as things run out and vendors get fewer and fewer, they may close early. Mountain Fresh Farmers Market, Oakland, Maryland, now through October 31st, Wednesdays and Saturdays, South 1st Street, Town Park Lane, 10 to 1 p.m. SoCo, the Somerset County Farmers Market, 243 West Main Street, Saturdays from now until October 11th. That one's coming to close quick, from 9 to 1 p.m. Deep Creek Farmers Market, Garrett College parking lot, every Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. And that one is closing soon too. Barber County Fairgrounds Farmers Market, every Friday, 4 to 7 p.m. from now till the end of October. Cheat Lake Farmers Market, every Monday, and they said to mid-October, so you might want to double check with them. They're from 4 to 7 p.m. in the parking lot of the Chestnut Ridge Church, 2223 Cheat Road. Waynesburg, PA, every Wednesday from 10 to 1 p.m. from now to the end of October, next to the courthouse. Rockwood, the new Centerville Farmers Market, located at the Holy Hayloft, from Thursdays from 3 to 6 p.m. Morgantown, West Virginia, downtown. They have theirs every Saturday from 8:30 to 12 p.m. in the large pavilion. And at Milan Park, they have theirs, 270 Milan Park Lane, on Wednesdays, starting 4 to 7 p.m. Cumberland, Maryland, Canal Place, theirs is on Thursdays from 9:30 to 1 p.m. As always, double check on all of those, because as vendors start to close the doors, and as this has been a very, very sketchy growing season this year, as I said, some of them may not be making it all the way through the end of October. So double check before you make the drive out there. Also, Uniontown Poultry Association at the Fayette Fairgrounds. They'll be having their next one is October 19th. Of course, it's always $2 per car, as many people as you can cram into a car. And I think October, this weekend, will also be their fall show, so you can check that out on their webpage as well. Indian Head Swap, the second Sunday of the month, 7 to 11 a.m. Poultry and Small Animals. Their next one will be October 12th. And the Delmont Busy Beaver Swap, Sundays from 8 to 11, 401 Vine Street, Route 22, next to the Walmart. Their next one will be November 2nd. And as always, with all three of those, the Uniontown, the Indian Head, and the Busy Beaver Swap, make sure that you don't take any kind of puppies. That's against the rules for the humane societies, and they will come down on you pretty hard. So no puppies, and some of them are even no kitties. So make sure that you double check on that. Okay, so in the news, also, I mean, it's not news anymore, but that our farmers are struggling and they're having a lot of issues this year. it's a very, very sad situation, and unfortunately, because the prices of everything have gone through the roof, in terms of just running the operation of the farm, plus the prices. If you were to purchase a new tractor today, the recent polls and numbers have said that you're looking at probably paying about 58% more than you would have paid last year for a tractor. I mean, it's just insane. But unfortunately, it's led to a lot of doom and gloom and a lot of sadness. And farmers are unfortunately taking somewhat tragic steps. And because agriculture has the highest suicide rate, almost by double of any other sort of occupation, or really anything. I mean, this is more than an occupation for farmers. Of course, it's their passion. But if you know of anybody that's feeling down, feeling in a bad way, please do everything you can to help lift them up through it, and if you can possibly help them. Of course, just to mention this once again, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, you simply dial on your cell phone just pound 988, okay? And again, the AgriStress helpline is a free 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline designed for farmers and their families seeking mental health support. That number is 833-897-AGRI, 833-897-2474. So if you feel even slightly concerned, you feel like you need to talk to somebody, please reach out to somebody at one of those hotlines. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of help from our Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, who every time is asked about whether or not these payments that are supposed to go out to our commodities farmers, whether or not they're actually going to show up, whether or not the president is actually talking about this, or whether it's just a talking point. Recently, she was asked if you could tell us more about President Trump's plan to use tariff money to pay farmers, and this was her reply.
President Trump's plan to use tariff money to pay farmers. What does that look like? How much are we talking about? How long will that program last?
You know, it is a very elegant solution, right? The amount of tariff money that is coming into our country is stunning. The president had a vision. He's effectuating the vision. The vision is pretty remarkable. The whole entire world economy is now realigning around American products, which is incredible. But again, to this moment of uncertainty, the ability to offset any payments to the farmers through potential tariff revenue is really where the president wants us to head, and that's what we're looking at very soon. One more.
So there you have it. He is effectuating a solution. I have no idea what that means. I have 2 college degrees. Effectuating a solution sounds a little to me, but you know, whatever. So hopefully our farmers can see their way through this. Unfortunately, it's a waiting game, but we don't have enough time to sit around and wait. As we said before, all of these crops, they don't have a long storage time, and we only have so much space to store it. So, unfortunately, we need to sort of come to some sort of a resolution. We need to open up markets. I certainly know that farmers do not want handouts. We're not crazy about all this socialized stuff, but the truth of the matter is there's not going to be much of an alternative here, because what we're doing with our markets right now, it's not balancing out. And as much as we can talk about dragging in tariff money, it still equates to a handout. Like it or lump it, it's going to become a handout. I will say that this is the time of year when we turn our minds and our ideas over to getting prepared for winter. I know it's hard to do that when you're outside and it's 80 degrees still, but as farmers, we have to start looking forward to kind of carrying over these animals in wintertime. And if we haven't brought in crops need to be brought in. If we're thinking about winter planting, we need to be doing winter planting. so that we can have a better crop rotation. All sorts of things that need to be thought about and planned out. If you have something like backyard chickens, and you have what we call chicken math, where you started off with just a couple chickens in the spring, and as we've gone on, we've sort of added more and added more and added more, and all of a sudden, it sort of gets a little bit crazy.
Can you do addition? What is 1 and 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 2? Can you do subtraction? 8 from 9 and 2 from 8 and 6 and 3 and 1 from 7?
Can you do division? 6 divided by a 3 and then a 2?
Yeah, that's chicken math. So all of a sudden, we started off with a couple of them, and then poof, it's a million of them. That also goes for some of the smaller livestock. If you have pigs, all of a sudden you can have a litter of pigs, and then you have 12 pigs. And then you have rabbits, the same sort of thing. We have a litter of rabbits, and then all of a sudden our numbers have quintupled and so forth. So now becomes the time when we have to get a little bit more rigid in our culling. And because this is also entering into breeding season, as we said before. So as we get into breeding season, we're going to do a number of different things. One of them we're going to talk about here. But before that, we need to get those numbers into a manageable size, because just feeding waste animals doesn't make any sense. So getting out there, taking a hard look at your animals and deciding which ones get to be kept and which ones get sent to market or moved on to somebody else. It can be hard, but it's one of those things that we absolutely have to do. It's an absolute essential if you're on the farm. So, having said that, and having to think about the following generation, the next generation that is going to be born hopefully in the spring in your livestock, there's a number of different things that we can do. So in the case of, say, my rabbits, I'm not going to breed them over the winter time because I don't want to, their gestation period is only 30 days. So we can hold them off until spring. We're going to go through there. We're going to cull those out. We're going to keep the very best. The pigs, I'm going to have another litter of pigs here relatively shortly. And that will be enough before the really bad weather starts up. Now, if we had indoor facilities with heat, that would be a different story. But we have to sort of measure the length of time that they would be pregnant and sort of go back and gauge when they should be bred so that we can have them hopefully in more comfortable weather. But sheep and goats, now's the time to be breeding them if you want them to. They have a 5-month gestation, and so they will be having youngsters in February, March. And so that's what we were thinking about, breeding them in this month, and they should be having them in February, which, depending on the year, can be dreadfully cold or can be kind of mild. So it's hard to tell. We're sort of going into the fall, extremely mild, so I'm sort of concerned that it's going to be extremely cold even into May this year. But at any rate, because it is breeding season, and breeding season is marked by a little bit colder temperatures, and it gets to be a little bit darker outside, the sheep and goats go into estrus, and we start to have, that time of year when we need to either start matching them up with bucks and rams, or we can do something else, which we're going to talk about today, which is artificial insemination. I was a little concerned about talking about artificial insemination on the radio, to be honest with you. I'm afraid of what I was going to get edited for, but luckily I came on today after Dr. Geary's vet show, and he was talking about anal glands, so I think I'm in the clear. I think I'm pretty good. So I'll try to keep it as clean and as rated PG as I possibly can with this process. So it starts off with being very selective. It starts off with trying to find the best sire to match up with your females, with your herd that you want to artificially inseminate. And what we're talking about is transcervical artificial insemination, which is direct insemination instead of the laparoscopic version, which usually has to be administered by a veterinarian, and which is more invasive, in my opinion. You're actually going to knock them out, flip them over, and that goes in through the lower abdomen and searches with the scope and tries to find an egg that can be fertilized. So it's a bit more. But any farmer who learns how to artificially inseminate can do it the way I'm going to describe transcervical artificial insemination. But at any rate, you're starting off by picking out the best sire that you can possibly find and the best one that you can afford. And what's going to happen is when you can see these bucks that were collected, they had their semen collected, and they are on sale through a dealer or through a private farm who has a semen tank that keeps it year round, what have you. And they're going to price it. And they're going to price those straws of semen. Usually, when you purchase them, you usually have to purchase them at a minimum of 5. They don't just want to sell you one straw. So usually it's in at least 5 or 10. And the more you get, the better the price tends to be. But depending on the quality of the sire, the animal, you can pay anywhere from $10 per straw up to $250 a straw. And if it's extremely rare and valuable with a sire that's given you lots of champion offspring and animals that have endured and have stood the test of time and have given extreme quality and correctness and conformation, those straws can go $500 per straw. So it can be a very lucrative market, or it can be what ends up being, some people just end up being collectors. They just have so many of these things, and it becomes an expense. So it's something that you have to think about. But anyway, when you've selected the sire that you want to use, you contact the person, and what you do is you have what this is. This is a semen collection tank, but it's the smaller variety. This is the shipper tank. This tank holds liquid nitrogen. It's poured in. It's a lot about timing, and I'm going to say that frequently as I discuss this topic today. A lot of it is about timing with artificial insemination. And when the liquid nitrogen is put in here, well, you're not allowed to ship it with the liquid sloshing around in here. This is what they consider a vapor shipper. So you have to time it so that most of it has dissipated at that time, and all that is just remaining, the charge is staying extremely cold. Okay, and the semen will last. It'll last forever, for that matter. I mean, we haven't really seen semen that was collected that's really expired, unless it's been mishandled. But semen that's collected can last forever as long as it's kept at that extremely, extremely cold temperature that liquid nitrogen provides. But because this is meant to be a vapor shipper, the reason they don't want liquid sloshing around in it, if you've ever gotten a package from UPS or FedEx, you know how badly they handle all of their packages. And even though this container itself would be put into what they call a mushroom shipper cover, the mushroom shape of it prohibits them from turning it upside down. But I can tell you, if this actually had liquid nitrogen in it, no matter how tight we made the top on this, to be able to get into it, it would still leak out. And if you want to get arrested really quickly, have liquid nitrogen pour out all over the floor of a FedEx or UPS truck. So that would be kind of awful. But at any rate, with the vapor shipper, when you receive the semen, if you want it to stay in this tank longer, all you would have to do is go down to your gas supplier or whatever and get more liquid nitrogen, and they would pour it down into here, and it would remain as charged as you want it to do. Now, the bigger tanks, you can get away with having it filled every 3 months, which is what most people do when they're storing semen. But if you're going to just take it, buy it, and immediately use it, these shippers can just be refilled back up with liquid nitrogen and can last for several weeks. So that's kind of what I tend to do. I tend to only buy, with a few exceptions of some really great sires that I have in a bigger storage tank with my veterinarian. But I tend to just sort of purchase what I need to use and get it done immediately. And then this thing eventually the liquid nitrogen can dissipate, and we can put this back into storage very safely. But you can see there is a basket, if you're watching on Facebook Live, a basket that gets filled with the straws, and immediately put back into cold storage. Again, all a matter of timing. Very, very quickly, the semen has to be transferred from one tank to another. As soon as it starts to thaw, that's when semen life seems to die. So we can't have that. We need to know, before all of this happens, we need to start clocking the cycles of the females that we tend to impregnate. So you're looking at a 21 to 23 day cycle for goats and sheep. And so most breeders tend to let them come into heat the first time, and then they gauge it and they time it. And so they know when to order, when to get it to them, and to have it there. So let's say that we've done this, we've done our homework, we know exactly when these animals are going to come into heat, we've ordered the semen has showed up. So now what do? So now we go down to the barn, and we see a doe or ewe flagging and very interested in being bred. So we take the semen and we pull that container back out, and we use what basically look like tweezers, but these tweezers are specifically used for grabbing the individual straws. Okay, the individual straws of semen then get put into a small container. Now, this is a device that, it looks like your cooler that you would go and you would spend a fortune for lately, because they're getting ridiculously expensive. If you've ever noticed, I mean, it's just getting stupid how expensive these things are. But it isn't. It's just a plain, generic mug that probably would have held coffee or something else you would have drank, but I don't recommend you doing that now. But this one's been specifically altered, and we purchased it, I think, for $15 or something like that. And what they did was put a small thermometer in here and drilled a hole in the top. And what we'll do is we'll fill this up. Now, depending on who you are, and as a breeder, years of experience will dictate how you do this. Some people will put 90-degree water in here, so that when they drop a semen straw in the top of this, put it in this little container that comes at the top of it, and then you can just drop it down, and you'll drop it down into here, and it will maintain at 90 degrees, and it will thaw quickly. Now, that's if you're all prepared and you're all ready. And I've known some other breeders that have filled it up with ice cubes, going the opposite way. In case they have other things to do, they need to wrestle the animal into a stanchion to get it to stand still, or they need to put it on a stand, whatever, and they need more time. They'll put ice cubes in here, and then they'll take the semen straw out with their tweezers. They'll put it in here, and they'll drop it in the top. And that'll give it more time to thaw out, because anything below that extreme cold of liquid nitrogen is going to start slowly thawing it out at all. Okay. And then I've known some breeders who just take the straw and they stick it in a pocket, and they figure by the time they get down to the barn and they've got everything timed out, that they pull it out, it'll be all thawed out. But we use this device, and I think it works a little bit better for that. But at any rate, we fill it up with water. When we get down there, we have the doe standing in a stanchion, eating away, not even paying much attention, not really that interested. We pull that straw out from the thawer, and again, we use the tweezers. We don't use our fingers, because anytime you use I know that the fingers can actually have a pulse in them, for that matter. So you can imagine that you're going to have, your body temperature is 98 degrees. So you're going to be heating up that straw of semen too much. And again, overheating the straw of semen is going to kill semen. But anyway, you're going to pick it up with the tweezers. You're going to stick it in this cutter that they have. It sticks right in there, and it cuts the tip of that straw off. Okay. And then we're going to load what they call the gun, and the straw goes into the very tip of this gun. And for those of you that are listening on the radio that can't see what it looks like, it basically looks like a very, very thin hollow piece of wire that's got another piece of wire shoved through it. And all we're going to do is we're going to insert that straw on the top. We're going to take one of these plastic covers, okay, slide the plastic cover over top of that, and as we go, we slide the keeper on. I'm not going to actually do it here because I need to conserve these. I don't have that many left. And we walk around. We've got our gun loaded and ready to go. So when we get over to the animal, again, this is all timing. This is all about trying to maintain this within a certain very quick time frame, okay? Because the animals get agitated, they're dancing around, they don't know what's going on, and all of this time, as the semen is thawing, we need to make sure that the animal is prepared to receive it. So the way that we do that is while we have our gun with us. Sometimes this is one of those things they stuff down the shirt. I don't know how they do that. But you can carry it around with you as long as you don't contaminate it, because this is going to be obviously placed inside of the animal. But we take this small piece of PVC. It's basically 1 inch, a very short 1 inch pipe, maybe 6 inches long. And this will be placed in the vagina of the animal. It'll go through in the vaginal tract. And once we get in there, what we're looking for the cervix, okay? And when we find the cervix, we want to look through it with a scope. This lights up. The scope goes in the tube. Again, doesn't touch the animal internally at all, just goes in the tube and lights up that tube. And so I'm looking inside of the animal and I'm looking towards the cervix. I'm trying to see, first of all, if there's any sort of a mucus that's going on there, because sometimes the color of the mucus can tell you at what point, what stage of estrus the animal's in. So if she's in heat and she's ready to receive it, we're ready to go. And if we see that mucus membrane going on in there, we're fine. But we're looking for the cervix. And again, this may be 6 inches long, but we're not going that far in, luckily. Okay, so this is protruding from the back. We've got the light on. I've got my gun, and of course all of this gets lubricated before we do any of this, because that would be awful if we didn't. We lubricate it with a anti-spermicidal kind of a lubricant. We don't want to be killing sperm, so we don't want to, we don't want it to be spermicidal. So going to make sure that we do that. And anyway, as this is in them, we're going to pull out our gun. We're going to pass the gun through the tube into the animal, and then we're going to push the plunger down. And the plunger will deposit the semen within the cervix. Now, the feeling that you should feel as you're passing it through the cervix, it's almost like a slight popping. It's like a pop, pop, pop. So you know that you're in the right place, you know that you're in the right vicinity, and you can go ahead and then deposit the semen in there. If you don't get past that, if you sort of, you're threading the gun in there and you feel almost like something is stopping, some people will just back out and just go ahead and just what they call splash it in there anyway. They'll just splash the semen in there. And that gives you a lesser result. You don't quite do as well as you do if you pass through the cervical rings. So as you feel that, it'll just feel like a very light pop, pop, pop. And again, if you're doing this right and you're aiming correctly, there is absolutely no discomfort to the animal at all. I don't even see them move when you're doing it right. Okay, so it's important that you take your time and you be patient at this step. But again, everything I said so far is about timing, and so we only have so much time before the semen starts to die off. And we're looking at when you look at semen under a microscope, we're looking for you're going to see thousands up to millions of sperm, but you're looking for, at the very least, something in the avenue of a 50% motility rate, meaning that you want 50% of those sperm to be moving around and not just sitting there totally dead, okay? Because they have a job to do, obviously. And so you want them mobile, you want them moving around, and you can take a small sample from the gun before you pass it into the animal, just to make sure that you still have that motility, that you haven't killed it off. So we tend to do that. And then when you deposit the semen, you just do everything in reverse. We pull everything out. We let the animal continue to eat its food as it's standing there in the stanchion, oblivious, hopefully, of what's going on. And then we just wait. and we can wait for the next heat cycle, or we can wait a couple weeks and we can take a blood sample and we can have the veterinarian look through that and give us an approximation on that. I will tell you something, though, in all honesty. If there was ever an opportunity in agriculture to make money, it would be somebody who could travel around and scan pregnancies on ewes and on goats, because the fact of the matter is this is something where we're so far behind, because when we get these animals pregnant, we need to know how many offspring are inside them. In the case of lambs and goats, there's a lot of things that can happen. If there's multiple kids in there, they can be obstructed trying to come out. And if we only think that there's one in there, a ewe or a doe can really just carry on after she has the first one. She's so consumed taking care of it, cleaning it up, getting it ready and up, that, a second baby inside, you wouldn't even know it unless you knew precisely how many she was going to have, or if you had to go in there and reach around and find it. So if somebody had ultrasound experience and was really good at it, it's something that really we need desperately in the agriculture community. And if you lived in overseas, you lived in the UK, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, they have basically scanners that just full-time, all they do is they travel around the country and they scan sheep or they scan goats, and they tell you exactly how many are in there, and they're very good at it. And I hate to criticize our veterinarians because I know they're busy people and they're hardworking people, but the fact of the matter is our veterinarians are terrible with scanning and knowing exactly how many offspring are in them. Even the most experienced one, and I've had them out to sort of look and see if whenever I've thought that there was an issue, maybe there was a dead one in there or something was going on, and they would scan. Their accuracy is lousy. They're just terrible at it. So it's something that if you really could practice and you really became good at it, it's definitely a vocation that we need in the agriculture community, scanners. So that's where I'm at. That's what we're thinking about. If you were on the Farmsteader's Field Notes Facebook page, you saw that I did some traveling and went and picked up a new buck and brought him home. I actually brought him home in the back of the car, and he did fine. He was good. He was happy, and he's happier now that we put him in with the girls. So we'll be seeing some offspring from him, hopefully here in February. And so that's kind of what's going on my farm. We're just sort of the preparation for spring, even though we're only in the fall. But you can never do it too early. It's absolutely essential that we get going on this stuff now because we're running out of time. Anyway, I kind of wanted to close the show with sort of an editorial from somebody. This person kind of wanted to keep his identity secret, so we're just going to go ahead and call him Joe Conservative. Joe, what did you have to say? Well, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in today, give a little editorial on all this hype about the Super Bowl halftime show. I just don't understand why in the world me, as Joe Conservative, has to sit there and watch this craziness. I think the Super Bowl halftime show should be just as American as apple pie. And I tell you what, I've seen it before. We've had the Rolling Stones. We've had the Who. Why can't we get somebody good like that? Why we got to have this bad puppy, bad kitty, bad bunny, bad bunny? I tell you what, I like my performers to be as white as my mama's legs when she pulled down her knee-high nylons. Or that mayonnaise that she used to sit out on the sill till it turned bad. They called it special sauce. Well, I can't have a repeat of what happened last year. You just saw that halftime show last year. You know what I'm talking about. I tell you. So Trump, I hear you like him young. Release the Epstein files. Anyway, try to have fun this week. If you see a farmer, do everything you can to support them. They're having it rough. Remember, we're all just future compost, folks. So have a good time. Stay tuned for CBS News this hour. See you next week.
You're listening to WMBS Uniontown. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.